Right, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So it seems the BBC Newsnight show had the CNN journalist Jim Acosta on their show to talk about his interactions with Donald Trump last November. Obviously relating to the Russia investigation, as that's what CNN has lived on for the last few years. Now, Acosta is clearly suffering from one of the acutest cases of Trump derangement syndrome the world has ever seen, along with the BBC. They are constantly trying to smear the president and anyone who disagrees with them or agrees with the president, much like the Biased Broadcasting Corporation do every day regarding Brexit. Now, when they get called out by the God Emperor Donald Trump, they all rally around each other with little interviews like this to reassure themselves that Orange Man is bad. Now, of course, the BBC host Emily Maitlis gives a very favourable interview with Jim Acosta because the BBC's Trump derangement syndrome is on par with CNN these days. We only have to look at the BBC's coverage from the president's state visit. The venereal disease show pulled the baby blimp stunt, while this trout said Trump has to fly everywhere because people in the UK don't like him very much. Right, now we have some context for the BBC's impartiality in regards to the US president.
President Trump has changed the rules of diplomacy. He's also changed the rules of how to interact with the media. Reporting on the Trump administration was, writes CNN White House correspondent Jim Acosta, like running through an ever-expanding hall of mirrors. All along the way, Trump is tweeting stuff that needs to be fact-checked in real time. Well, Acosta found himself at war with the president and ultimately had his White House pass revoked temporarily after one particular exchange last November of the midterm elections. The footage was altered and Acosta found himself accused of manhandling a female intern. He took the White House to court to fight his corner and won. Here's what actually happened on tape.
If I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President,
that's enough.
I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr.
Excuse me.
President,
That's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other
Peter,
question,
let's
if
go.
I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with
you
the
may have
Russian
indictments coming
investigation because it's a hoax.
Are you-
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation? Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead. When you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead.
Mr. President.
Well, Jim Acosta, CNN's chief White House correspondent and author of The Enemy of the People, A Dangerous Time to Tell the Truth in America, is with me now. I worry, Jim, when you listen to that, and I'm sure it's been played to you a zillion times, that you think you fell into the Trump trap, that you became that story.
I don't think so. You know, they've wanted to make us the story because they know it excites their base. And I've talked to a number of sources close to this president who say this has been by design all along. But we can't, I think, avoid the job that we have to do as journalists. We're not just here to report the news. We're here to defend the truth. And as I was trying to demonstrate during that press conference, there was a pretty pressing question that needed to be asked, and that was whether or not the president was basically lying to the American people when he said that a caravan of migrants heading towards the border amounted to an invasion. And when I challenged him on that, he clearly didn't like it, and that's what you saw happen after that.
When you say defend the truth, you need to find out the truth. You want to ask the questions that get you answers. I wonder at what point you stop being a journalist and you start being a lobbyist or a campaigner.
Well, I think I'm very comfortable being an activist for the truth and for the First Amendment. I mean, I think in that moment, we didn't need to do any investigative work to determine whether or not an invasion was underway in the United States. An invasion was not underway. There was a caravan of migrants heading towards the border. What I have found time and again with this president is that he does want to make us part of this act. He wants to taunt us and troll us and call us names like fake news. And you walked into that. And the enemy of the people.
But you start playing the game. You know, you play to your base just as he plays to his base.
I don't think that's the case. I think if you look what happened at that news conference, he went after a number of journalists. One of my colleagues over at PBS here in the U.S. asked the president whether he was trying to play to white nationalists when he called himself a nationalist, and he proceeded to call that reporter say that reporter's question was racist. So he does this, he mixes this up with reporters over here in the U.S., just as he likes to mix it up with prime ministers and ambassadors all around the world. Whether or not it's a trap doesn't mean we don't do our jobs.
Right, so this whole interview is to promote this complete tosspot's new anti-Trump book. I wasn't aware the BBC had become a marketing agency for left-wing American journalists trying to push their books filled with politically motivated dribble, because his side lost the last election to Donald Trump and he's now reached peak salt over it, I guess. So he had to write it down and try and make some money off Donald Trump's name. It's the exact sort of shitweasel behaviour CNN and the BBC promotes, so really I shouldn't be surprised. We have to remember that CNN reported throughout the 2016 US elections that Trump had no chance of winning and Hillary Clinton was going to win by a landslide over Trump and all this and that. Trump is right to call them fake news. They've proved themselves as fake news year on year. I mean, 2016 elections, the Mueller investigations, AOC and her car park prank. I do love how the BBC instantly blames Trump for this shitweasel's behaviour though. Like he fell into Trump's trap. No, this idiot and his editors despise Trump and will do anything they can to smear him, so constantly give him ammunition. Trump's always ready, they always provide. Jim is like Rachel Maddow, focused on the Russian collusion fake news pumped out by CNN and MSNBC because Trump derangement syndrome, I guess. I don't know why they continue, it's already been told, it's bollocks. In this interview he tries to say that Trump didn't like his migrant caravan question in the clip you see earlier, but as you see, the clip was showing him asking about Russia. Make your mind up, mate. There wasn't Russian migrant caravans, were they, Jim, you fucking idiot? The host does point out that this guy is not a journalist, he's an activist, which is right. But I don't think she sees that as a bad thing, like we do. She promotes that type of thing. I think Jim Acosta is a comedian, though, claiming he is an activist for the truth. Yeah, nice joke, tosspot.
Well, I wonder, I mean, you raised the point of the migrant caravan. Of course, in retrospect, that whole issue, that whole period seemed to be Trump dictating what he wanted people to talk about leading up to the midterms, when many of the Democrats and many on the other side wanted to talk about healthcare or other policies. So you walked into that trap, didn't you?
Well, I don't think I walked into any trap. I think I was trying to hold the president's feet to the fire. And keep in mind, he has used this as a device before. He's going to use it again. And he's going to run against the media again. And look at what happened in 2018. He tried to demonize immigrants. He tried to demonize the press. And it didn't work. He got his clock cleaned in the 2018 midterms, and the Democrats took control of the House. And so when we say that this is a trap that the president is laying and he seems to win every time, I'm not sure the facts back that up.
Well, I guess he would say that he did pretty well in the Senate, and lots of Democrats lost their seats there. I wonder whether you think it's a cultural thing, that American journalists are naturally more deferential. I mean, I don't know many British journalists that would think twice about holding a politician's feet to the fire, and they probably wouldn't write a book off the back of it.
Well, I think that, and I've watched the British press do its thing over the years, and I think that we could use a dose of that here in the United States. I mean, listen, what happened with President Trump is, as a candidate, he called us the disgusting news media, the dishonest news media. He tried to roll that act into the Oval Office. And, it was described to me as essentially an act by sources close to the president. And there was one press conference I'll take you back to in February 2017 where he called me very fake news. And then I get a phone call from one of his top aides. I talk about this in the book, Hope Hicks, who says, Jim, I just want you to know the president thought you were very professional today, and said, Jim gets it. And so, this is an act. The problem is, and I write about this in the book, is that this act has gotten out of the president's control, and that hostility he directs at us has been absorbed by his supporters and then directed back at us in ways that make us feel threatened and endangered here in the United States. And what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see a situation where a journalist is hurt or, God forbid, killed in this country. I think at that point, the United States joins an unfortunate category of countries around the world where journalists are not safe doing their jobs. And at that point, are we really a standard bearer for democracy around the globe? I think those are very important questions to ask. And I think I can stay in my lane as a straight news reporter in saying all of that.
So the BBC host is now complaining that during the midterms, Trump was focused on immigration and protecting the US border from illegal immigrants. She would prefer, like the US undemocratic party, they talked about healthcare and other things. Oh, I wonder why. Likely because at the time the Democrats had been helping illegal immigrants get into the US, which has also been reported on recently if I remember correctly. So it would be a safe bet to assume they was doing it back then as well. Of course, the left-wing media wouldn't want their favourite socialists to be caught helping people enter the country illegally, though, would they? In America, the border issue is clearly a major one. I mean, AOC goes and cries next to empty parking lots to give the image of crying for the poor illegal immigrants. These people broke the law, yet she goes in and shouts at US citizens who are paid to protect the border. The BBC and CNN would rather Trump didn't shine a light on the border, I'm guessing, while their friends are helping people cross into America. What a complete joke this spunk trumpet is. Why are you not talking about the people helping these people cross into the USA then, Emily? He claims Trump got his clock cleaned. What an idiot. When did Trump get his clock cleaned? The same happened with the midterms as everyone expected to happen, you idiot. It always happens. Trump and the rest of the same free-thinking world know CNN and its soy boy reporters are fake news. They live off it like the BBC and left-wing media do here about their Ramoning bullshit stories like, Brexit chaos and Brexit disaster, all of this nonsense. It's just ridiculous.
One of the points you raise in the book, and I'd never come across it before, I was fascinated, was the line that seemed to dictate this sort of new Orwellian reality that came from Kellyanne Conway was about alternative facts. And you explained that she didn't actually mean to say alternative facts. She was talking about a mixture of things, and it all became garbled, alternative information and extra facts. Do you think that we did the administration her an injustice by taking that and just running with it like it was, you know, the biggest falsehood we'd ever heard?
Well, at the time, remember, the reason why she used that expression, and I talk about this in the book, was to explain why Sean Spicer, the White House press secretary, said that the president had the largest inauguration crowd of all time. And she said that that was an alternative fact that Sean Spicer was presenting to the American people. I wanted to give Kellyanne Conway her due. I asked her for an on-the-record interview, and I was very surprised that she gave it to me. And she said at that point she didn't mean to say that, but the term did come to, I think, cover a lot of ground over the last 2 years of the Trump administration. The president, according to the Washington Post, has uttered some 10,000 false or misleading statements since coming into office. And my goodness, what would be our sense of the truth and reality be in this country or around the world if we let all of those falsehoods stand? But, you know, Kellyanne Conway was very candid during this interview. She not only said she didn't mean to say that, she also took issue with the use of the term the enemy of the people. She wishes the president would use a different expression. She also said that it was against her conscience as a Catholic to see family separations happen at the U.S. border with Mexico, all of which raises the question, what is she doing working for the president of the United States?
That's another
but
one
it just goes to
for a
show
longer
you...
night. Jim, we've run out of time, but we really appreciate you. Thanks for joining us.
So, for that whole boring spiel, his main point is to get out there about the kids and the border, separating families and all this bullshit. Why does neither him nor the BBC spunk trumpet once tell the viewers that Barack Obama was nicknamed the Deporter-in-Chief for doing exactly what these fuckpigs are smearing Trump about? I can't believe the BBC have brought this hack reporter on a taxpayer-funded show to promote his shit-talking book about the US president and the CNN's anti-Trump rhetoric that it brings with it. Why are we paying for this ridiculous interview on Newsnight about an American reporter's book on Trump? Who in the UK actually cares what the fuck Jim Acosta thinks of Trump? It just shows how out of touch the BBC truly are with the people of the UK. This guy asked a question last year, then tried to sneak a second one in, which caused Trump to label him fake news and a disgrace, along with CNN. Which, if you ask the rest of the world, is a factually correct statement. There is nothing wrong with that. So Trump slagged him off, so what? How does that make him some authority on Donald Trump that people should spend their money on hearing his heavily biased opinions? In his book that no doubt cost like $15 to buy or something. We can't give over 75s free TV licenses, but we can give our journalist friends over at CNN a free book promotion because it attacks the US president, and we're all for that, yeah? Is that what it is, BBC? Unbelievable. So I'm going to end the video there, guys, anyway. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Do you think the BBC should be the marketing arm of CNN's journalists for their books? I don't. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe with the notification bell so you get notified when my next video goes live, and I'll see you all in the next one.